Before he was creating turnovers, tackling ball carriers, or forcing quick throws for the Kansas City Chiefs, Jaylen Watson lived a shockingly average life flipping burgers in Wendy's.
Path to the NFL for Jaylen Watson was hardly straightforward.
Working at Wendy's showed me how much that I didn't want to live that lifestyle.
Despite possessing extraordinary athleticism and a cannon for an arm, he was overlooked by every Division I college program in the nation. Fast forward to a few years later, and Jaylen has become one of the best cornerbacks in the history of Kansas City.
Jaylen Watson came sneaking inside to hit.
But how did he go from a fast food worker to an NFL star?
My name is Jaylen Watson. I play cornerback here.
Unlike many NFL players, Jaylen Watson wasn't born with a silver spoon or a clear path to greatness. He was born in Augusta, Georgia in 1998. Augusta wasn't about green jackets or manicured fairways. This is where his story starts, in a small house shared with his single mother, LaToya Pillow. Life in that house wasn't simple. LaToya was a fighter, piecing together paychecks from odd jobs, cleaning houses, working retail, whatever it took to keep food on the table. Meanwhile, Jaylen saw her exhaustion, heard the late-night sighs over bills, and felt the instability of a home where tomorrow was never promised. However, his father wasn't in the picture, leaving LaToya to shoulder it all. She was a tough, no-nonsense kind of mom who would wake up before dawn and still find time to check Jaylen's homework. And even as his home felt like a burden, Jaylen decided to embrace football, a game that made him forget his struggles.
I started playing football when I was 4 or 5.
From the time he could run, the game was his escape from the chaos. It started in the streets, tossing a beat-up ball with neighborhood kids, dodging potholes and dreaming big. Even as a lanky teen, Jaylen had something special: long arms that snatched passes from the air.
Batted down, Jaylen Watson. Jaylen Watson ripped the football away from Nakua.
A burst of speed that left defenders stumbling, and a mind that seemed to see the play before it unfolded.
Oh, what's what it did?
At Lucy Craft Laney High School, he started locking down receivers as a cornerback, and even while scouts might not have been knocking yet, many coaches believed he was ready for a move. However, Augusta tested him, shaped him, gave him just enough to survive but not enough to coast. And in that world, a kid with a dream started to rise. One step, one play, one hope at a time. At 18, high school was over. His days at Lucy Craft Laney and Curtis Baptist were finally behind him. But the phone wasn't ringing. No scholarship offers, no recruiters beating down his door. And even while his coaches loved his speed, his instincts, that 6'2" frame that could dominate a backfield, Augusta is not a football factory, and Jaylen's highlight reel didn't make it to the big desks in Athens. So, Jaylen made a risky move halfway across the country to Ventura College in California. While players land here for all kinds of reasons, slipped grades, hometowns that are too small to notice, or just bad luck, it was a lifeline for Jaylen. Meanwhile, leaving home wasn't easy.
It's mainly for, Augusta more than anything else, because this is what made me, and just showing the younger guys, everyone coming up, that it's possible.
His mom had been working herself to the bone so he could chase this dream. Saying goodbye meant leaving her behind, trading Augusta's familiar struggles for the unknown, but Jaylen packed his bags, hugged her tight, and boarded a bus bound for Ventura in 2017. He knew JUCO was a long shot. Most guys don't make it out, some flame out, others fade away. After arriving in Ventura, year one was all about finding his feet. As a freshman cornerback, he learned the ropes with a new playbook, new teammates, and a new life 2,000 miles from home. But Jaylen fit in easily with the Pirates. Then, in 2018, his sophomore season, and everything clicked. This wasn't just Jaylen showing up anymore, this was Jaylen taking over. 43 tackles, 13 pass breakups, 4 interceptions. On a field where every snap was an audition, Jaylen began to gather attention. Opposing quarterbacks started avoiding his side, coaches started talking, and scouts started scribbling his name.
I was first team all-conference, first team all-state, first team All-American both years.
And in that California sun, he was starting to win, not just games, but a future he had always believed was his. By 2019, the Trojans from the University of Southern California, with their cardinal and gold swagger, came calling. For a kid from Augusta, Georgia, who had scratched his way through junior college, this was the golden ticket. However, college football's a machine, and transfers don't just happen with a handshake. There's paperwork, credits to align, NCAA rules to navigate, so this time was no exception. Case in point, JUCO life is a grind for Jaylen, balancing practice, games, and school on a shoestring budget. For Jaylen, who had never had tutors or safety nets growing up, keeping up academically was an issue. He had pushed through, but not enough. When USC reviewed his transcript, the verdict hit like a blindside sack: academic ineligibility. His grades didn't clear the bar, and so the transfer was dead. Going back to Augusta, the homecoming was humbling, but this wasn't the return he had imagined. There he was, back in the same small house with his mom, LaToya Pillow. The USC dreams gone bust, his football career on ice, and at 20 years old, he was staring down a reality he never saw coming: a job at Wendy's with a paycheck of $7.25 an hour. For a kid who had tasted gridiron glory at Ventura College, this feels like a fall. Now Jaylen started working behind the counter, earning a minimum wage of $290 a week before taxes, barely enough to chip in on rent. And then there's LaToya, who was there as his boss. She had landed at Wendy's years earlier, climbing from crew to shift manager. But Jaylen was not done with school. He was still chasing that associate's degree from Ventura and finishing coursework online between shifts.
To try to find a job, the only place I could get was Wendy's, where my mom was working. So started making $7.25 an hour there.
But flipping burgers was all part of the test that would later build his character for the comeback that was coming.
Which was horrible.
In early 2020, Jaylen was done with his diploma, unlocking a second chance. This gave him a ticket to Washington State University, a Pac-12 school where the Cougars offered him a scholarship. The Cougars are a gritty bunch, known for scrapping with the conference's big dogs despite modest resources. As Jaylen arrived in the summer of 2020, the world experienced one of the biggest tragedies in history, the COVID-19 pandemic, which shut down campuses and canceled games. This time, the 2020 season had 4 games, with masked sidelines and empty stands. In fact, Jaylen was not a starter yet. He was still learning the system, adjusting to a new level of speed and scheme. The disruptions hit hard as his teammates were quarantined and routines wrecked. Then, in his senior year in 2021, Jaylen was ready. He was not the overlooked JUCO kid anymore. He was a starting cornerback locking down the Cougars' secondary. The stats pile up as he ended up with 26 tackles and 2 interceptions. By the end of the season, he earned all Pac-12 honorable mention, a recognition from a conference stacked with talent.
Hey, I've been really impressed, though, with this Jaylen Watson.
As expected, NFL scouts started showing up. They clock his size, 6 feet 2 inches height, 200 pounds, and arms that stretch like a condor's wings was enough. By April 2022, the NFL draft was in full swing, a 3-day spectacle of bright lights and big dreams, broadcast from Las Vegas to living rooms everywhere. After a standout senior year at Washington State, all Pac-12 honors and NFL scouts were buzzing as they added him to the mix. Unfortunately, the draft is a cruel lottery, and Jaylen had no first-round luck. The draft is a marathon with 256 picks stretched over 7 rounds. Day 1 was for the stars, the household names with million-dollar smiles. Day 2 was for the solid bets, the guys with buzz. By day 3 was a grind where teams moved through sleepers and long shots. Round 4 passes, then 5, then 6. Names flash across the screen: quarterbacks, linemen, receivers, but not his. While late-round picks are a gamble, scouts loved Jaylen's size and Washington State tape, where he battled Pac-12 studs. But he was not a polished pedigree. No high school hype, no Power 5 hype train until his 2021. The NFL's a business, and in day 3, some guys get the call, others get a shrug and a free agent tryout. Jaylen was on that edge watching the clock. Then it happens. Pick 243, late in the 7th round. The phone buzzes, and Augusta's own now became an NFL player.
Hey, Jaylen.
What's up?
Are you excited to be a Chief?
Yes, fine. Let's do it.
Jaylen, how you doing, buddy?
Good. How about you?
Doing good, man. Congratulations.
By the end of 2022, the starting cornerback for the Chiefs, Trent McDuffie, was out, sidelined with a hamstring injury from Week 1, and suddenly, Jaylen's name was called. Fresh off a Super Bowl win in 2020, the Chiefs are Patrick Mahomes' kingdom, an offensive juggernaut with a defense looking to prove itself. The Chargers, led by young star Justin Herbert, are no pushovers, a divisional rival with a cannon-armed quarterback and playoff ambition. Arrowhead was packed with 73,000 fans, one of the loudest crowds in football. For Jaylen, it It's his second NFL game ever. He was 23 and adjusting to pro speed and pro pressure, but after a successful win, Jaylen's name is everywhere. Moreover, the NFL handed him AFC Defensive Player of the Week with 7 tackles, a pass breakup, and that game-changing score. But in the winter of 2023, where the Kansas City Chiefs were chasing greatness, Jaylen Watson was now a second-year cornerback for a team with its eyes on the Lombardi Trophy. After his primetime pick 6 in 2022, he was no longer just a 7th-round surprise.
Jaylen Watson quickly becoming kind of the force on defense like we've seen from Trent McDuffie the last couple of years.
He was a piece of the Chiefs' puzzle, a 6-foot 2-inch defender with tenacity and timing. This was his Super Bowl spotlight, 2 straight runs, 2023 and 2024, where Jaylen proved he was built for the brightest lights, winning back-to-back titles. After some months, Jaylen was no longer a rookie, logging 52 tackles and 6 pass breakups as he earned trust in a secondary stacked with talent. That year, Super Bowl 57 pitted the Chiefs against the Philadelphia Eagles in Glendale, Arizona. It was a heavyweight slugfest, but Jaylen was not grabbing headlines with picks here. That year became another dominant year as the Chiefs went on top of the AFC again. Meanwhile, Jaylen had grown with more confidence, but this was just the beginning. On October 20th, 2024, the Kansas City Chiefs were in a dogfight when a Week 7 rematch against the San Francisco 49ers was held at Levi's Stadium. The Chiefs were 5-0, chasing a historic three-peat after back-to-back Super Bowl wins, and Jaylen Watson was a cornerstone with a third-year cornerback hitting his stride. He was locked in, shadowing receivers with his 6'2" frame, a wall in the secondary. Then, in a flash, it all unravels. Second quarter, Niners Deebo Samuel cuts sharp, Jaylen plants to cover, a routine move he's made 1,000 times. But this time, his right leg buckles with a sickening crack as he crumbles, clutching his shin in pain. The diagnosis was brutal, a broken fibula and tibia, twin fractures that silenced his season for good.
He went down and he was in quite a bit of pain. You could see it on his face and just his body language as trainers were attending to him.
Jaylen has been key with his regular season snaps piling up, but this injury was a gut punch. The fibula and tibia tear is a double break that is rare and ruthless.
Watson was playing exceptional through the first 7 weeks of the season.
Eventually, the Chiefs won the match with 28-18 points, but the victory was bittersweet, and Jaylen was done, at least for now. And so the surgery came fast on October 22nd in Kansas City. After that, he was sidelined with his leg in a cast, now relying on crutches. Moreover, rehab was slow and brutal for the young kid. And teammates like L'Jarius Sneed and Trent McDuffie held the secondary, but his absence was felt by the whole team. Doctors said it would take 8 to 12 months to heal and get back to the pitch, but Jaylen was aiming for 6. However, January 2025 was the beginning of his comeback. The Chiefs finished 14-3 as Jaylen hit milestones, jogging, cutting, trusting his leg again. This time, he was ahead of schedule, and a few days later, he was activated from injured reserve, just as the postseason kicked off. He was not 100%, but he was back and ready for another push.
No matter how many plays I play, no matter if it's just special teams, whatever it is, I just want to hold that trophy up another time.
At age 26, he had become a 2-time Super Bowl champion with the Kansas City Chiefs. But do you think he can become one of the greatest cornerbacks in history?